Hey everyone, it is your host Damien here from Hybrid Heroes, and this is the HYROX Heroes podcast, where we talk everything that you need to know when it comes to getting ready for your next HYROX race. Excited to have you here, and let's get into the episode. Hey everyone, it's Damo here, and on today's episode of the Hybrid Heroes podcast, we are talking program design. And it is the start of 2026, and we have just unrolled our new Perform program, which is really exciting. So I really wanted to take a chance today to explain how we put the program together. And the main reason for this is not to just sell my program, but if you want to go to Hybridheroes.online and go check it out. But if you're a coach yourself, or if you're an athlete, or if you're putting together your own programs, or if you even are one of our athletes and you want to get more clarity on the design, I'm really going to start to explain how these programs come together, because there is so much to HYROX. You got to run fast, you got to run for a long period of time, you got to do like zone 2 running, there's strength training, there's HYROX training, there's skill training, there's so many modalities in this space. And, as hybrid athletes, there is so much to do all the time. And everyone's got a different strength and weakness at every given point. So it really is an art form to putting together these programs. And, now I've had the privilege to work with hundreds of people in the HYROX space. And we've been doing it for a couple of years now, specifically. I've been doing programs for 18 years. Like, I've been personal training and coaching for a very long time. And I've really found a structure that I believe is just like the best balance between everything. Again, doing enough of the right strength training, doing enough of the running, but also, how to apply it to the person. And that's a big topic of, what we're going to talk about today. Is programming is one thing, but application to the individual is another thing. So this is going to be a great episode where you're really going to start to understand the why behind program design, what I think about when putting programs together. And, this is really going to be important for you as an athlete, because if you can understand the intent behind why structures exist, or why we did that exercise, or why do we do things like that, that is going to give you so much more confidence with your training. And today it might spark a lot of really new ideas and concepts for you that you can start to apply. So if you're plateauing in your training, or not making progress, or if you're burning out, or if you're getting injured, or if you're all of it, we see everything in this space. There might be some really simple mistakes that you are making when it comes to design, hence why you just keep, coming to the same spot. And so it's going to be really cool. This might also affirm a lot of the things you're doing really well. So really huge episode, and let's dive in. So I just want to start as well by sort of really saying, when we're talking about programs, again, I've been a coach for a very long time, and I've worked with people typically all my career on a one-on-one basis. I've done personal training for a long time. Even now I still have one-on-one clients, and everything is tailored. And I just want to start there and really just highlight that you can't replace that. Like, one program to suit thousands of different people, it just doesn't exist. It just cannot be optimal for you, because there are so many things about you that need to be taken into consideration to get the best result possible. So I understand there are limitations to programs, and that is why also when I put these programs together, we have to put certain guardrails on it. So basically, they become a little bit like, childproof. Like, it's like, yes, they're going to push you and stretch you, but, everything is really, really safe and structured really well. I'm working with a very high level athlete right now, and, even they doubted the design and, on a prescription, and they nailed it, because we have to really push the boundaries, because we can in one-on-one design. And it's not to say we can't do that in programming, but, it can be a little bit more risky, because, someone might be overreaching on a program because that's what the program says, rather than, self-coaching them a little bit and, just going, hey, how does this apply to me? Just asking that simple question. Like, oh, okay, it says 5 rounds there. I've never trained that long before. Maybe I should start with 4 rounds first. It's a very valid question, but a lot of people just, nope, that's what the program says. And that kind of attitude or approach, again, at the start is going to get results, because if you just start doing lots of training and doing more volume and running faster and putting more intensity into things, of course you're going to get a result. The problem then lies is how long can you keep that result up for? So that is the key difference when it comes to individual design, is typically we move people at the right speeds, at the right rates. We, apply the right amount of volume. And it's something that we have done at Hybrid Heroes and really tried to cater as best as I can. Is like we have 3 versions of the same program. And the only reason why there's 3 versions is because we're trying to cater for those needs of different people. So we have a first timer program. So obviously it's less training days, less volume. And the targets are less because those people, haven't got that ability yet. And they're learning, and we don't want to ruin their confidence. And, we want them to feel good along their journey. So we've got to build them up appropriately. Where, then we have our athlete program, that's the way we word it now for 26, is our athlete pathway. There is a 6-day-a-week program, and then there's an 8-day-a-week program, because we still coach very high level people, and we want to give people that opportunity, because that's what we are doing ourselves. And there's got to be 2 program designs. As much as I'd love to go to just one program, here it is, and adjust it as you need to, it just doesn't work that way. So we got those programs, and then I add a lot of resources in there to just give people some information, hence why we're doing the podcast today, so people can just understand how to apply programs to themselves. All right, don't just think that's what the program says, I got to do it. I've done a podcast on this before, but there is a saying I like, and it's something that I always have to remind my clients is, I'm just like, do we need to be better, or do we need to be kind right now? Because a lot of people just beat themselves up. They just want to, do more. They don't want to feel like they're falling behind. And, this can lead to, I guess, an unhealthy relationship with training. And again, if your ego, if this relationship forms, you're going to have a short career in HYROX. Literally, and I've coached people like this who have done this, and I've seen it so many times, the one and doners, right? Because, they just stretched themselves so much. They left training a little late. They started 10 weeks out. They overdid it the whole way through, and they were just praying for HYROX to finish. They were just like, that might be you right now. You're like, I just want the race to come and go because I just can't be fucked with this anymore. Pretty much. Sorry for my language, but that's exactly how people think. And then even when they do finish the race, it's like they get sick, they're inflamed, because they've just been in fight or flight for like the last 10 weeks. It's crazy. So we really have to understand, and hence why, again, bringing education now to program design. And, you're really going to be able to take away this, how to apply not just my program, anyone's program better, because we're going to be talking a lot about principles. Okay, so let's ask the question, when it comes to application, why can 2 different athletes get 2 totally different results? So if we think about pacing, some people have the ability to pace. You might be saying to yourself, what is pacing? Like your ability to be repeatable, to know what speed you should be doing things, and how to maintain speed, how to pace workouts, not going too fast at the start. So again, 2 athletes, one can know all that, right? And typically get the right dose effect or the right adaptation for the session. And one of them can just be going off their emotions and just going super hard, killing themselves, really pushing their limits, but not making progress. That ties into their ego. One person's like, I'm playing the long game. It's not about winning today. It's about making little bits of progress. The other person is like, I got to be the fittest one in the room. I got to run fast. I got to cross the line. And while there's always times for that, it's not saying that ego is not a bad thing. But if it's unchecked, if it's just always just leading the session, leading your intensity, it's a bad thing. There's other reasons why people can apply things poorly. Load selection. When we prescribe workouts, like if there's 3 sets of back squats, example, it is prescribed that it should be 3 of the same working weight. Like, so if I'm doing a 100 kilo back squat, I should do that for set 1, 2, and 3. And then next week, if I've been able to do all 3 sets of that weight, which says I can do that weight, I'm capable next week, then I'm going to increase to 105 or 110. Can I do it for 3 sets? 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Then we go up again. Where some people are going from 80 to 100 to 120. And they're the 3 sets. So not only do you get less working sets in, but you're just maxing out. Every time, every session, you're maxing out. So poor load selection. If you don't understand how to do that, again, this is what's it's gonna put eventually there'll be an endpoint to that progress. Recovery. People can just be doing too much training, right? So one can be doing the right amount, one can just be, or if we're talking the same program, I guess, someone's just, not factoring in recovery, and one is. Like, the person recovering, doing extra recovery, ice baths, saunas is gonna, again, be able to adapt and recover better. Life stress, okay? Same program, 2 different athletes. If one person has bad habits outside of gym, like they're not prepping food, they're not eating enough food, that's probably the biggest one right there in this hybrid space. And I talk about this all the time as well. I know you guys, we all want to get shredded and we all want a 6-pack, and that's why we want to run, and that's why we want to do HYROX, because, we want to look good. But you got to eat. You got to eat. And the most leanest people out there on the HYROX floor eat crazy amounts of food, because we're burning so many calories. So if you go too big into a deficit, like that stress, you being then a miserable human because you're not eating enough calories, will then create other stresses in your life too. So that's a big one there. And then, it's massive. And consistency obviously can be another one. So one person can be super consistent with a program, the other person cannot be. And then, that just throws off the equations of why workouts exist. So, I'm a big believer that, application of a program is far more important than the actual program. Because even if there was a poorly written program, someone who applies themselves really well is going to get a great result. Let alone you have a really good program and then you apply yourself really well. Again, guys, it's why we get, when I say this, it's not about me. It's not about me. I'm just saying we get great results with our clients and people who train with us because of these principles and concepts that I'm about to go through with you today. And so if you're ever scratching your head and going, wow, how'd that person improve? What's going on there? These are the things that we're going to talk about today. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to share this with you. And again, I'm really going to make sure everything I'm sharing with you today isn't just some high-end, scientific, the latest research says this about lactate threshold and your VO2 should. Nah, we ain't going there because that doesn't apply to most people. High-end athletes, the top 0.1% who need all that, good on them. You know what I mean? Good on them. And even, and even the main reason why they get such good results is because they just dedicate so much time, but also attention to detail. But for most people, it's everyday people, we got to get just the simple things right. And that's going to get you to the top 5% if done right. As an example, those principles can take you that far. It's only right at the peak that then you need to take still these principles, but then just, be obsessive about it in every single way. So, yes, shall move on. All right. So when it comes to HYROX, all right, now let's talk, what are we actually training for? Now, this is huge because, hybrid, it's a hybrid event. What's hybrid? We have to run really well. So we have to have endurance. We have to be able to run for a long period of time. We have to run fast as well, especially if you want to be competitive. You got to run fast. We got to be have the ability to hold a ridiculously fast pace for the races. We got to do that for a very long time as well. So this middle distance sort of running, you got to be a really good 1 kilometer runner. Obviously 8Ks in total. There is nothing easy about the running volume and the speed that we bring to it. So it's a super challenging distance. And also we have to do it after being fatigued, after the weights and the stations, AKA being compromised and then going and running. So, and this whole idea of compromised running, running is not compromised. Like you should know, it's there's no such thing as that, as a lot of the runners out there would say. But what happens is when you're not efficient at running, or you don't have really dialed in mechanics, and then you do something like the sled push and all that lactate and all that blood in your legs, making your legs really heavy, that is the compromise. That's the whole point, is it's now compromise your mechanical efficiency. So that's why it feels hard to run and your running feels weird. So, but once you advance to a certain level, you then, refine and create better running efficiency. And then that's where, those people can just run super fast because they're not compromised anymore, because now they are, they have the appropriate mechanics to run. So, it really highlights just how bad a lot of people are at running. And when I say a lot of people, there are such a small percentage of people in this world can run really well. HYROX is doing a fantastic job at getting a lot of people running. But even like myself, I've played sport my whole life. I've played football, I've played basketball. I've always done marathons and triathlons, and I've always ran in some way or shape or form. But it wasn't until doing HYROX that I was like, I'm not a good runner. And it's taken about a good year and a half for me now to feel like I can do a station and just get out there and bolt back running again. So, that probably sounds for a lot of people like, oh, what hope have I got? But it's not that there's something wrong with you. That's just the challenge with this. And to really progress through that, that's why, we really got to look at so much running in our training. That's really just highlighting, how much efficiency we have to create. So that's a huge component of why we do a lot of running. We don't do a lot of running just for the aerobic adaptation. It's got a lot to do with actually the mechanical adaptation. So that's why we have speed runs, we have long runs. Anyway, I'm going to talk more about that. But yeah, that's essentially, to get good at HYROX, we've got to sort that out. So other physical demands. We have, obviously the aerobic engine. Like I said, we've got to improve our aerobic capacity. So what is aerobic? Aerobic is your ability to get oxygen into the muscle. The more oxygen, blood and oxygen we get in the muscle, the more energy we can produce. So, people who have limited, we call them like abilities to do zone 2 running. So zone 2 is like purely aerobic. So it means it utilizes oxygen, where when we start going lactate or we start going, higher intensities, that is our body not using oxygen to produce energy. So it's using pure stored energy, hence why that we get that burn, we get that lactate. Basically, it's the body then going beyond what it can supply. We get that burn, it slows us down, and then we can aerobically, catch back up again, if that makes some sense. So yeah, that's the aerobic engine, why it's really important. I'll get through this because I'll be talking here for 3 hours at this point. So strength training, we've got to be strong, but functionally strong, not gym bro strong. So, we've got to be able to be good in all of our compound lifts. So compounds, multi-joint, multi-muscle lifts. We've got to have muscular endurance. So muscular endurance, if you think about lifting up a deadlift for, real heavy weight for 1 rep, muscular endurance is like, can I lift that heavy weight for 10 reps? The longer I can lift it or do more reps, that's muscular endurance. So if you think of HYROX, all these stations we're doing in a very fatigued setting. So that's endurance, but strength, muscular endurance. Skill and efficiency. So, there's still skill. Everything is a skill. Pulling a rope is a skill. Wall balls are a skill. Running is a skill. That's why we have to create as much efficiency in all those skills. And efficiency basically means we need to use as little energy to produce the same result. So if you're trying to run at 4-minute kilometers, can we do still run at 4-minute kilometers, but use, let's call it half the energy. That's efficiency. So yeah, that's one thing we have to look at. And then we have to look at like transitions on the fatigue as well. So mentally we have to be, responsive enough to then be able to have our head in the game and still do all those things. Oh, guys, there's so much going on when it comes to HYROX. That's why it's a lot of fun. And, and then there's more notes. Then there's structural demands. So, this is going to be great talk for the coaches out there. If you're not a coach, please just excuse some of my language right now. But, we have to look at, bilateral movements, unilateral movements. So basically 2 legs at a time, 1 leg at a time, push pull, both in horizontal and vertical patterns. We have to look at squat patterns. We have to look at hinge patterns. We have to look at posterior chain strengthening. We have to look at rotation, trunk stability. There is so much structural demands that, again, to be a great HYROX athlete, you have to be quite proficient in all of these patterns. And if you do have a weakness, it will become a huge limiting factor. And typically that will be the area where you're going to get injured, because we have to prepare ourselves when training for HYROX. And especially someone who wants to continue to get good at it, you have to start to prepare yourself to be able to do high volume, like a lot of training, and somewhat bring a lot of intensity to it eventually. So there's a lot that needs to go into it. So for someone who was like, what the hell did you just say? Well then, Damien, basically we need to be able to move you in every way, shape and form. Okay. And if we don't factor that into training, it's going to create a limitation and potentially an injury. Okay. The reality of most athletes, time and life constraints. So, this point here, so we're moving on. This is the next point now. I just went through all these demands of what HYROX is. Now, these demands are the same for the Elite 15 and versus someone who's doing it for the very first time. HYROX is HYROX. That's the sport. Like, you got the same distance, same weight, obviously different weight categories, or like weights used in different categories. But essentially, the challenge is the same. So you have people that literally do this for a career and can spend multiple hours a day doing it and have the sponsors and have all the recoveries and all the rest. And then you've got other people who, are working, 8 hours a day. They've got 2 kids. They've got, other responsibilities, and they try to get out for 40 minutes a day and train and get ready for this super grueling event. So, and there's all the in-betweens, obviously. So, when we look at the majority of people who do HYROX, like, if there's an event, there's 20,000 people there, I would imagine, 18,000 of them would somewhat fall into the category of like, everyday people, and those 2,000 people, whether they're full-time coaches, even full-time coaches, you're still working. You still, there's very few people that can just spend as much time as they want doing this sport. So, that's something that we have to look at massively. And I know something we factor in massively into our programming. And why is that? Is, our programs aren't really designed, most of the sessions, like one of our sessions, I'm going to talk about that later, is designed to go 60 plus minutes. But that's because HYROX is 60 plus minutes. So we have to do that, in the program at some point to get people ready for it. But every other session, we don't typically go or stretch beyond 60 minutes just because it's just not going to factor in with people's lives. Our advanced 8 session a week program has 2 double day sessions. So again, it's there intentionally for those people who have more time commitments, hence why they need more programming, because they want more out of their program and they want to get to higher levels. But hence why there's a 6-day a week program and an optional day there too. So 5 to 6 days really. And that's because it has to fit in with people's lifestyles. And if we're not doing that, and I was talking to a client of mine, and she was doing another coach's program. Fantastic coach, by the way. And she was saying it took me 2 hours to do the training session. I'm like, what took you 2 hours to do? What were you doing for 2 hours? And it was just a strength training session. And, I hear feedback like this more than I would like to, because again, people are just doing programs that are just, yes, they can be the most optimal way to train for HYROX. Again, if you had unlimited time, resources, and you could get all your meals prepped and cooked, and you're just eating all the right calories and macros, and your body can just recover, and there's no baby keeping you up at night, and you're getting your 8 hours of sleep in a temperature controlled room and all the rest. I'm just overemphasizing here, but it's if you're one of these coaches, it's like, again, you will get better results. I've seen it. I do it. This is what I do for a living. You will get better results if you can get someone in their sweet spot. And their sweet spot is the right amount of stress, the right amount of overload for them, but pushing them too far. Again, quick results for a short period of time, and then you've created chronic issues. Whether it's tendinopathies or injuries, or again, just different poor mindsets, the list goes on. So, so most athletes, what we look at, 60 minutes of training a day, which is still a lot, right? 60 minutes is a big session still, even for a lot of people. But also, like, science has shown this. Like, we've seen this in multiple research studies, and just the facts of, just understanding human biology, is the body does have, a limited amount of, productive contractions in it before it starts to diminish the return. And I know for strength training, I believe, it's around that sort of, 45 minutes. Because, and if you really think of it, like if we're doing just a strength training day, again, getting a little sciencey here, we use an energy system called ATP-PC system, which is aniline triphosphate. It's stored in the muscle. So basically, it's like you have this fuel tank that is only going to last about 45 minutes at best. So if you empty it, and now your session is going 60, 70, 80, 90 minutes, it's like, Now we're going from unleaded and we're using gas, or now that's a hybrid engine, literally. Now we're turning on the electricity on a different engine, but it's not going to give the same output. So you get a diminished return. You now can't produce the same amount of strength because you've emptied your main fuel source, and the secondary fuel source just cannot produce enough energy. And if anything, it actually now starts to create a little bit of a negative effect. So anyway, that is like an example. And if you take that as a concept, the point of, there is a point of diminishing return. And that can be different for different people. Obviously, people with different experiences, even just people who are eating differently that can be a big factor. But just understand that, more is not always better. And you might realize this even with your training sessions. There's a point where you just like fall off the cliff. and that's the point where you're like, gotta go, okay, I'm not really making much progress here. And that's okay. You'd rather wrap it up there but be consistent. Like, I could go on about this so much. And guys, if you've got questions from today's podcast, write them down, send them through to me. I'm always up for a chat, but I can answer it on a potential podcast in the future, or I definitely will write back. I pretty much write back to everyone, so eventually. So definitely do so. Okay, how our programming has evolved over the years. So, when we very first started, and when I say very first started, back in the ancient days, back in 2 years ago, so it wasn't that long ago, but it's evolved a lot, and I've always had, again, a wealth of experience in this hybrid space. I grew up playing a lot of sport, very athletic development, done CrossFit for a number of years, which really taught me a lot as well. So this idea of the interplay between, aerobic capacity, endurance, strength, that's why I went into HYROX and to specialize in it, because it's just where a lot of my skill sets lied. And we pretty much nailed it pretty good from day one. And when I say, what did we do well? We had a really structurally balanced program, as I spoke about before. So we had a really good balance of strength, running, and HYROX specific sessions. And it served us really, really well. And I'm gonna go through exactly some of those concepts that we applied in doing that. And we trained some of the people that went into this system, or these initial program designs. Like we had the Nakora Bakers, like Gabrielle, she's now like Elite 15. A lot of her base building, like, as she, highlights as well, she never done any of this. And then we started and we, she did a lot of strength training. She was a coach as well. So, coaches, we just know this. We just know good balanced design. So Nakora Bakers did amazingly well. We had even a young gun of ours, Jake Ferrugia, the guy I bet at Melbourne. So Jake, if you're listening, just rubbing it in even more. So, but again, these guys had no experience in, this style of training. And, we just really had to apply because, Jake was like a typical just trainer that was like, we do chest, back, bias, tries. There's some, we can do some stability stuff and various things. But a lot of people didn't really understand how to bring strength, like running and I guess functional training together. So, our days were kind of like, our week, we were doing about 3 strength training days a week. We were doing 3 runs a week, and we were doing about 2 HYROX sessions a week. Give or take a little bit, depends on what block we were in. But it was quite balanced. So why I bring this up is because I really want to share with you the evolution. And this is going to sound like of course, Damien, but it's as we have continued to grow in the sport and as everyone else has, we know it's a running race, right? Like we know running is by far a super important thing. But I say and I share where we were, because where we were, if we just hammered the running so hard from the start, I don't think we would have built the bases and the foundations that are now leading to a lot of our success. So, I believe early on, if you're early in your HYROX training career, you have to find balance. You have to build a body, again, that can handle the load, that can handle the training load, the load of weight that you have to move. Your body has to be efficient enough in all these ways so it can recover well and not burn out. And then you have to build up your skills slightly, because again, when you're new to it, you're using more energy than you need to, because again, you're not as efficient in your skill sets. So, I think having a super balanced program is so important. And, but now, if we look at, if I look at some of the people in our space, literally like Gab, who's not coached with Hybrid Heroes anymore. She gets coached by another fantastic coach, and she does all this stuff, which is incredible. But, I see a little bit what they do, and I see other top athletes. Like we've been able to really get to know a lot of amazing athletes. Joanna's come past a few times and we get insights from her. Nicola Macbeth, she's been doing really well. We've got insights from her. The list goes on. Like basically a lot of the Australian, sort of races, it's amazing. I've got to know them really well. And again, just get to share a lot of insights. And then just observing, just from watching races, is like the running speed and the running volume that everyone is now doing is ridiculous. Like it's crazy. And again, 2 years ago, no one was running anywhere near the numbers, the volume, but also the speed that they are today. So that's one thing that we now, fully look at it and factor into our programs. First timer program, again, very balanced program, but as we go to the advanced, and actually even in the athlete program from the 6 to the 8 session program, those 2 extra sessions are run sessions, run specific sessions. So we have a huge focus now on running. And again, like I said right at the start of this podcast, it's really about making sure that we just get so efficient at running. And I know in my last HYROX that I did in Melbourne, end of 25, I went from, I moved states and my environment changed, which was great. And I went from probably doing 30 kilometers a week to around 50 kilometers a week. And just that increase in extra running and a couple different styles of runs, it just changed in less than 3 months. I shaved nearly 5 minutes off my time, which was really in the pro solo. So again, why I say that, again, it's just another emphasis. If you think, I got to get better at running, and that's the number one thing everyone says after a HYROX, it's can confirm we do need to get better at running. But how to get better at running, is what I'm going to talk about. So, all right, guys. So again, it is a huge episode, and there's so much information to know, because if I just throw out everything if I just throw all the how we do it from the start without understanding all that, again, it just doesn't, the information doesn't mean the same. So let's have a look now at running, right, specifically, because I believe, again, there's three main focuses in program design: the running, the strength training, and then the HYROX specific training. So already take that as a keynote, three pillars that we really look at when we're putting program design together. So, we always have to think, what are we doing? We're doing HYROX. So we're talking running now. We got to do 8 kilometers plus of running, plus the rock zone. So it's typically around 8.7 kilometers of running in a race. We have to do it under fatigue. We have to do it, we have to manage our stress. We have to do all the station performance. So there's so many things that can dictate the run on the day. So as a HYROX athlete, our run structure that we look at, there are typically 3 main types of runs. I'm going to say typically 3. There's like 3 to 4, but I'll put 2 of them in the same sort of bracket. So this is what you should be looking at. And our first run, which is a super important run, is our zone 2 running. Now, this is where we build aerobic capacity. It's our aerobic base work. It's where we can start to increase our running volume. People can just start to get more kilometers in the legs and really just start to get conditioned for going the distance at HYROX. So zone 2 run is amazing. Now, zone 2 is 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. It is really hard to stay in zone 2. That's one thing a lot of people realize. And that there shows if you can't run slow enough and stay in zone 2, like as in your heart rate elevates too high, it's not a problem. It just shows where you're at. And you should be able to control your heart rate and keep it low. And that is, it's a great achievement when you get there as well. So very key run. The second run that we look at is going to be tempo running. So tempo running is basically when you're looking at running, like going faster and then going slower, but without stopping. Okay, so again, when you're doing tempo, you are going at, like, let's call it a race pace, and then you bring it back down. Now, you might do 2 or 3 repeats in a block. There's so many ways to do it, but essentially we're teaching regulation. Now, if you sort of think of HYROX, when you come out of a station, you don't just want to stop and rest. Well, no, that's exactly what you want to do, but you got to keep moving, right? So you got to learn to regulate your effort, pace control, and that's what tempo runs do. Now, for me, I've avoided them so much because they suck. Like, they're hard work. But I say they suck because I'm not that good at it, but I'm getting good at it. And I always say you don't like the things you're not good at. So I'm going to be an amazing tempo runner. I am an amazing tempo runner. There you go. Had a conclusion. So tempo is a very important run, especially for HYROX. And then the third one, actually, I did say there was 4, guys. I said there was 4. I do 4 runs a week, but 2 of them are zone 2. I was getting ahead of myself. There's 3 main types of runs. So zone 2, tempo that I just went over. And then the third one that we look at is interval running. Now, interval running is very similar to tempo as far as you're going faster, but intervals typically come with a rest period. So you might do like an 800 meter run and then rest for 2 minutes and then repeat. And intervals are a really great way to build repeatability, to build efficiency, especially in your biomechanics, to really get high quality efforts in, and to build speed. Like, you can do intervals as short as 100 meters. So again, if we're thinking about how all these runs piece together, zone 2 is like your base. So if you think far right, that's like your base building. All the way to the left, you got speed. Like, intervals can work on your, again, leg turnover, and then tempo is kind of like, the in-between, where it's like you're doing, you're not stopping, but you're regulating and you're changing your speed throughout. So they are, again, 3 really main runs that we look at. Now, in our advanced program, we do 4 specific runs a week. So we do 2 zone 2 runs, we do a tempo run, and we do an interval run. And each of those runs have a progression over, our program is actually a 14-week program, so there's actually a progression over all those 14 weeks. The zone 2, like the distance accumulates, the tempo, the efforts get longer, and then same with the intervals. We start typically around, off the top of my head, around 400 meters. Like, week 1 will be 4 by 400, then week 2, 5 by 400, week 3, 6 by 400, and then we go to, 4 by 8, 4 by 600, then 5 by 600, then 5 by 6 by 600, then we go to 4 by 800, 5 by 8, again, things like that, but we're bringing the same pace to each of those intervals. It's so simple, guys. There's nothing complicated about these progressions, and they work so well. Again, when you don't skip it, when you do the work week in, week out, be consistent. So one thing we've done with our program is we have a money back guarantee. So then that guarantee is if you do our whole program and you do not achieve your best result, I'll give you your money back, because it's not opinion anymore. It's science-based. And, we have just refined these progressions. We have refined the sequence. We have refined everything so well that, I'll be like, if you've done it and you've done it well, you're going to get a great result and you will get your best time. I can guarantee it 100%. So, and if not, I'll give you money back, because of the rare case that it doesn't. And again, this isn't me going, I'm amazing. Got nothing to do with me. It's just me understanding key concepts, key principles, and applying it in ways. And we've just done it enough to have the confidence, the belief in it. And that's what I'm sharing here with you today. So everything I'm sharing, don't take it as it can't be that simple. It is that simple. Now, obviously, putting it all together, if you've never done it before, can seem like, how does it all work? Hence why, again, people like myself and other coaches are out there to really give you that confidence in the application. So that is the running. Now, let's have a talk about the strength training side of things. Now, we typically do 2 strength training days in our, and when I say strength training, very specific strength training. So just going to the gym and lifting weights. We're not doing HYROX. There's no high intensity, and these are so important. These are the days where we attend to our structural balance of our body. Now, structural balance refers to basically making sure that everything is working the way it should in our body. So, if we're pushing something, pulling something, pushing overhead, squatting, all those things that I said at the start, lunging, all these things, we have to make sure our body is structurally sound, structurally balanced, because if it's imbalanced, it's going to lead to a problem. All right. Problem is either going to be an injury. It's going to be an overuse injury. Again, there's going to be something overloaded, overstressed. So that is one huge reason. And then the other reason, which is very simple, is obviously that's where we build our strength. So we still have to be strong, 200 kilo sled push, for the pro weights and the guys, 150 for the girls. Just some of the weights in general, all the weights, you got to have a level of strength, and strength isn't just pure output. You got to maintain positioning too. If you're weak or not strong enough, you'll lose form, you'll lose posture. There is so much that goes in strength training. So these days are very, very important, and it's very important that we slow down and that we contract really well. So, when I say contract, it's we move weight and we move it with quality, and we move it, in full ranges of motion. These are the things that, again, if we're not doing, can be a massive hole in your training. Now, we only do 2 because we do 2 full body strength days. I could break down every single exercise and why I do every exercise, but again, we'll be here for another 4 hours. But basically, across the 2 days, we cover 4 main compound lifts. We cover a whole bunch of different accessory movements, which work on all the different movement patterns. And this is really how you have to look at putting strength training together. Is you have to think about, okay, what are all the movement patterns? Okay, again, push pull, horizontal, push pull vertical, squat, hinge, lunge. So unilateral, bilateral is like a squat. So we have to do all these movement patterns. We got to do rotational movements. We got to do trunk flexion. We got to do extension. We got to do is there anything else I missed there, everyone? But typically, these are the things that then we have to go, okay, now we need to spread all these movement patterns over the course of, 2 days. And then we need to get the right amount of, load into those movement patterns. Now, why typically we don't stretch it out to 3 days or 4 days is because we then also do I'll quickly go there and I'll come back, is we do 2 specific HYROX days, which there is still a lot of strength output, just done in high intensity ways. So yeah, that's why, you must be looking at full body strength training for those 2 days, because by the time we've already got 3 or 4 runs on the board, we've got 2 strength training days, we can start to see there's not much time left in the week. All right, coming back to the strength training. Now, what we use, there's multiple ways that you can create like a progressional overload, a path to follow as such to make improvement. One thing that I've done, and we've had just really great success with it, and I like to do it as well, it's called a wave load. So what we look at is in our key compounds. So key compounds are like your back squat, bench press, deadlift, and I should notice off the top of my head. Bench press, deadlift. Bench, dead, squat, and we got a new one, power clean, a power movement in there. So we follow thanks for bearing with me on that one, everyone. We have a wave progression that we go through with these movements only. Now, so those are the first two movements of the session, and then there are 5 other exercises typically, which I call accessory, which are higher rep range. But these ones we follow a wave load of, so week 1, 8 reps, then week 2 we go to 6 reps, week 3 we go to 4 reps, week 4 we go to 2 reps. Then we repeat 2 times. So we're going to go through this wave in a total of 3 times. And what that means is if I did, like, let's call back squat example, if I was doing week 1, 8 reps at 100, so next week I do 6 reps, which I should go heavier because it's less reps. So let's just say I go to 105. Week 3, I go to 110 for 4. Week 4, I go to 115. Now, if I do all my sets and I progress like that nicely, then when I go back to in this case, week 5, so the first week of the second wave load, for 10 reps, previously I did 100, I should naturally be at least at 105. And then if I literally just do the same wave load, so go from 105 to 110 to 115, now I'm at 120. When I get down to my 2, then I go back to the start, now I'm at 110. And then, we should be seeing increases like that. Typically we can see a little bit more, but that is just as simple as it is. And by the end of 12 weeks, this is how we're putting 10 to 20 kilos easily onto people's strength without overstraining them, because again, it's a natural progression. It does get down to a spicy 2 reps, but we're not looking for maximal loading. It's not like max yourself out at 2. It's be repeatable, 2 reps for the 3 working sets that you can, which means you leave some reps in reserve. And then if you just follow this, you're going to get stronger. And this is how people, while they're running and while they're doing HYROX and then still strength training, are increasing their strength while doing all this. It's incredible. And if anyone's sort of followed me, I've gone through very similar wave loads like this recently, and just dialing back into structure. Like I literally, my back squat went from I think 140 to 180 in 3 months. So for me, that was really huge. So it works so well. Yes, so that is, without boring everyone too much, so yeah, key lifts, we do that wave load. All the other accessory I call movements, we vary every week. So we have a 4-week cycle. So week 1, 2, 3, and 4, there's a different movements, but the same movement pattern. That's really important. So if there's a pushing movement, like a horizontal push, we keep that same movement pattern there, but we change the exercise for a bit of variety. So that's really important because, as much as I love just doing the same thing over and over, we need to make sure that the body is getting a little bit of a different stimulus as well. So really important there. Okay. We're talking HYROX sessions now. So we've got the strength training. We've got the running in place. Now HYROX. Now there's 2 types of HYROX sessions that I typically plan. Now again, there's multiple ways to do this. This is just the way I do it. I like doing this one. Is I do a midweek HYROX session. This is what I call HYROX 40. It's a 40-minute training session. And this 40-minute training session is designed to have no running in it. We're going to have a little break from running, but it's designed to bring more intensity. So it's a little bit shorter than the other session. And that's the whole point, is we want to bring more speed to it. Then we have the HYROX 60 plus session. So it's going to be at least 60 minutes. Some of them, as it progresses, gets a little longer. This is more race specific. It's really designed to go to the distance and to get the person to adapt to the volume of doing a HYROX. So it's by far one of the most important sessions if you want to get good at HYROX. Now, I know a lot of people who are training at like local gyms, like your local group fitness place, like whether it's F45 or FitStop or BFT or anything like that. You're limited by class length. And we had a crew. I had a crew in Melbourne for a long period of time. It's still running. It's taken over by Tyler there now at United, and he's doing a great job with it. And but yeah, we had our Friday crew, and those sessions were going an hour to an hour and a half long, and they were grueling. They were tough, but when we showed up to HYROX, we were all ready. That's the one thing that you got to be ready for the race. And so unless you're exposing yourself to that kind of torture, I should say, distance regularly, then you just might not come in as prepared as you can, which is really important. So okay, now really important principle design here. Now this is really important. Now this is like one of my, I call it secrets. It's not a secret. Again, it's just text information that I learned, but it's something that I don't share a lot, because to fully explain it in its complexity and everyone to understand it, they'll be like, what are you talking about? But I'm just going to share with you the principle. I'm going to share with you what it is. And if you just can understand it, it is actually quite simple, but yeah, huge game changer. I learned it through OPEX Fitness, where I did a lot of my further educations through. Again, they're just based on principles that work. And the principle basically is the principle of breaking things down into quarters. So when we're looking at building someone up to the desired goal. So if we're taking HYROX for an example, and we're like, all right, we want to build someone to about an hour 20. So let's just say an hour 20 in this case. All right, so as we build someone to that, so we got to start them somewhere. So you can't just go train for 80 minutes straight. And why we can't is because they just don't have the fitness or the ability to be able to just go that long of a distance with high quality. Okay, that's the biggest caveat. So we break it down into quarters. So, we start to look at someone and we go, okay, well, if they can go for 15 minutes, once, really high quality, and then we can go to create 2 rounds. So, 15 by 2, can they repeat that quality? Okay, they can repeat it. Amazing. So then we add in the next quarter, the third quarter. So now can they repeat that quality? 1 round, yes. 2 rounds, yes. 3 rounds, yes. Awesome. So now they're doing 45 minutes of training. Sorry, I'm explaining it like we're getting into 60 minutes. And then the last bit, or the last quarter now, is can they complete that high quality for all 4? 15, 15, 15, 15. Yes, they can. Awesome. So now we're building someone's capacity up to go 60 minutes, but now quality is part of the equation. Now, once they've done that for a while, now we go, okay, let's reduce it a bit more simple, and let's do 2 by 30 minutes. But let's bring the same pace we were doing for the 4 times 15 minutes. Now, can they display the same pacing, but now for 30 minutes? Yes, rest. All right, can you do it again? Rest. Okay, now, cool, awesome. Now you're doing 60 minutes of training at a higher pace, at higher quality. And then, as we get them further along, now it turns into just 1 time 60-minute piece. And if someone goes through that progression, it's what we did right at the start with our original crew, that exact thing. We started off doing 2 by 15, and it went to 3 by 15, 4 by 15, then it turned into 2 by 30. And they were typically in 4-week progressions. So 4 week in one stage, which then progressed into 4 weeks at the next stage, and then 4 weeks in the other stage. If you go through that progression, that is how you learn to bring quality to then capacity. So when we're looking at our HYROX 40 session and our HYROX 60 plus, that principle, that design is what I do to build people up. So for 40 minutes, eventually I want someone to be able to go super hard for 40 minutes. Now, even though that's less than HYROX, but that session is designed to bring intensity. So I want someone to be able to just really rev the engine in that one. So we start off doing 4x10. So I'm basically saying, do a good 10 minutes, have a rest. 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 And then after 4 weeks, we turn it into 2x20-minute efforts. We do that for 4 weeks, and then we do 4 weeks of 1x40-minute efforts. It's as simple as that, guys. We do the same exactly for the 60-minute session. So obviously in 12 or 14 weeks, we don't have the luxury of starting from, just like the 2x15. Hence why I'm starting everyone here at 4x15. So same deal. It's 4x15, have a rest in between those efforts. Then I turn it into, actually this one, same design, but I turn it into 3x20. So 20, 20, 20. Because then I turn it into 2x30, right? Because the kicker is I want to push people to 80 minutes. So then once they're competent at 2x30, then I get them into 2x40. Now they're back on track with that progression. So if they can go 2 40-minute efforts really solid, then it turns into 1x80. And if someone can then train super hard for 80 minutes, they're ready for HYROX. And that's exactly what we do inside our programming. And again, that's why I know we can get people great results of this framework, which is huge. And I know, if someone can do that progression, like just that HYROX 60 progression, over 14 weeks and get to the end of it and be able to just crank hard out like a 1x80-minute workout, like you're ready for HYROX. Like your confidence is there, your time's there, your ability is there, everything is there. But again, we don't just throw in the deep end, hence why there is such a gradual progression. And these sessions are really important, going back to the original idea of why you have to learn how to apply yourself. Because I can give an elite person and I can give a newbie the exact same progression. I've had to, and that's why you get access to me in our coaching app, because sometimes people just need to ask advice. If someone's starting and they've got 4x15-minute efforts, it's still a 60-minute workout. And I'm like, look, if you're just not there yet, just start at 4x2. Like that's where you need to start on your progression. But someone who's trying to go sub 60 can start it at 4x15. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. If you feel like you're overreaching, like it doesn't matter how good I make this sound, doesn't matter whatever, it's like you have to take you into consideration. Now, there are some times where you just come up with bullshit excuses, and you have to differentiate, all right, is this an actual limitation or is this an excuse? But hence why people need support, right? Again, that's one major thing of my whole career is based around, and that's why coaches will always have a job, because we have to still be able to give people the right advice. It's not just writing programs. It's again, how to get people to apply that properly is truly where all the gains are made, and the performance really lies. So that is a huge, huge way to, really end the podcast. Guys, it's been a ton of information. Like, we're cranking this out. Application, again, is the most important part here. So, some clear signs that if you're not applying properly, like you're never finishing sessions, you're under constant fatigue, you're always feeling behind, you're dreading training. This isn't a weakness, guys. This comes back to, again, the application. And that's why, even when I work with one-on-one clients, like these things come up all the time. But, that's why they have me there to be able to make that adjustment with them weekly and tailor and alter their whole training. So even if that's something that you really want to explore, like I still do take on some one-on-one clients. So you can always reach out to me via socials or on my personal Instagram account as well, which you'll definitely be able to find through Hybrid. And yeah, it's like, that's the major benefit there. Obviously, it's a more premium service. So that's another huge factor, really, isn't it? It's like everyone should be on tailored program designs, but not everyone has, just that kind of money or wants to invest that much money. So that's why, our training app, it's like 17 Australian dollars. a week, cancel any time. And it's there because it's a price point that's manageable, to give, quality people. We can scale it. It's affordable. And my job is to deliver as much value to that as possible. So we do that in really great ways. So if you're definitely feeling, if you're feeling now, like maybe your program needs some tweaks and adjustments, I really hope this gets you thinking and overviewing. I hope there's some real conclusions there that you're going, yep, been doing a lot of that. There might be some things that you disagree with. And if that's the case, come on guys, can't disagree with this stuff. This is this is proven principles. I haven't said anything crazy. So yeah, all that applies. But yeah, I'm sure there's many more ways. There's many more principles to do this stuff too, guys. But this is just one way that we have just found just works so amazing when it comes to training HYROXes. So yeah, so again, some real key differentiators between our programs. And again, I say this because this is really just to understand the demands of different people. First timers, 5 sessions a week, reduced volume. It fits into real life. Typically that person is not a full-time athlete, so we really have to take life into consideration. Our perform programs are typically for people who want to take it a bit more serious. They have more time to put towards it, and there's a lot more running emphasis. Again, that's going to be the big thing to stretch them. And we have an 8-session-a-week program. Again, this is like your high performers, people who want to go sub 60, people who want to go to world championships. A lot of the concepts here, a lot of concepts I spoke about, this is the frameworks that people use to literally in the elites. Again, simple frameworks. The higher you go, this is what you realize. The higher you go in fitness level, the more simpler it gets. That's I should have just said that from the start. Key concept. But there you go. If you come all the way to this point, you got that key nugget there. So guys, simple works every single time. So if you want to find out more about our programs, the link will be in the description here for sure. We do a 7-day free trial, so you can get in there. We have a whole HYROX resource library in there with 50 plus videos on me explaining more about HYROX. Now, I know I can talk, but those videos are only about 3 or 4 minutes long, so packed full of information. Obviously, all the programs in there. We have a dedicated training app where you can track all of your weights and all of your progression. And you get coach support. You get me in there that you can directly talk to. Most of the time, I'll hit you back with a voice message because it's easier than typing. And yeah, it's underutilized. So guys, if you're on it, you get coaching for $17 a week. It's crazy. So yeah, again, my goal is just to help people, really become, fitter and healthier versions of themselves. And, I just love HYROX as it's a platform that we can do that, and we can have a lot of fun, and we can compete, and we can do this amazing sport. So yeah, go check it out. Hybridheroes.online. Thank you for listening, and I'm going to see you guys on the next episode.